Welcome to my digital presentation, my marketing pitch for Pooch and Mutt. My name is Owen Szymanski and I'm just going to take you through some slides and some suggestions. So this first slide is a picture of Guy, the inventor or the person behind Pooch and Mutt, and his lovely dog Pepper. So Pepper is actually featured on some of their products and in some of their advertising. So this is Guy's dog, and she's one of the reasons why the brand was invented, and is one of their main focuses. But as a nation of animal lovers, we are obsessed with our pets, more so our cats and our dogs. So as Pooch and Mutt have cornered the market in dog food, I thought it would be really good for them to explore other options. So I thought by starting with a quote from Terry Pratchett, in ancient times, cats were worshipped as gods. They have not forgotten this. And I think that is relevant in this situation, in that cats are incredibly sort of adventurous. They lead very active lifestyles, but they're renowned for being the one pet that will go away and come back only to be fed, whereas a dog will sort of always greet you and play fetch and all those kind of things. So I think this is a great segue into the products and the ideas itself. So in the UK, 31% of all UK households have a cat, which is a massive amount of households. 19% of those have one cat, 8% of those have two cats, and 3% of those have 3 or more cats. Now, based on current statistics, there's about 27 million households in the UK, and if 31% of those have 1, 2, 3 or more cats, that works out about 8 million cats in the UK at one time. The thing that we're seeing at the moment and the current trend with our pets, namely our cats and our dogs, is the humanization of our animals, and we project our own thoughts, feelings and emotions onto our pets, and this is evidenced in some Mintel data. So people were asked questions about what their concerns were for their animals. Overall health was the top concern, but second to that was stress and anxiety, weight, loneliness and disobedient behaviour. Now, with Pooch and Mutt's expertise in health products for dogs, so not just necessarily dog food, but health products for dogs, this is a great opportunity for them to add that panache, the approach they have to dog food, into cat food. And with overall health, but things like stress and anxiety and weight being part of the concerns for cat and dog owners in the UK, they could translate that expertise into a cat food. Now, in the UK, 74% of the UK market is wet food, 17% of that is dry food, and 9% of that market is treats. So I would suggest tackling the wet food market to start with it representing the largest proportion of the cat food market. This would be a great place for them to try things out, get people brand allegiance, raise some awareness, and you're covering more of that percentile. Now, what does that mean financially to any company, let alone Pooch and Mutt? Well, in the UK in 2017, £1.3 billion was spent on cat food. So 122 million was on treats, 226 million on dry food, but a whopping 980 million was spent on wet food. Now, if Pooch and Mutt can corner 1% of that market, that would be a massive share of 9.8 million. Now, it would take an incredible amount of work, but with their standing that they have on their dog food, it's completely achievable. So in the future, there's only growth in the pet food market. So this Mintel data shows the market share of cat and dog food. So it's estimated that 2018 was £2.7 billion. Now, over the next 5 years or so, that's set to potentially reach £3.4 billion. So if any company, let alone Pooch and Mutt, can take a share of that, it would be great. Now, it's not going to be an easy journey. So surprisingly, and what surprises most people, is Mars and Nestle own all of these different brands, and you can see some well-known names for both dog and cat food. But looking at those cat foods, Sheba, Iams, Kitty Cat, Whiskers, Felix, Go Cat, Pooch and Mutt are going to have to take on these massive organizations, these massive global enterprises with budgets, marketing budgets worth 30 times more than Pooch and Mutt is worth. So it's going to take them a lot to do that. But Pooch and Mutt have their ethics, their approach to the way in which they carry out their business on their side. With us humanizing our animals. We want to know what they're eating. We want to know the meat content. Is it prebiotic, probiotic? Are there any supplements? Will this affect my cat's health, well-being? Will it increase my cat's health and well-being? So if we look at that, there's a great quote from Hippocrates, which is, "Let thy medicine be thy food." Whereas now it's more a case of let food be thy medicine when possible. So I think there's a change in that, and it's not suggesting that you're changing veterinarian care or anything with food, but there's a great way of supplementing a pet's routine and their lives with some great quality cat food. Now, what Pooch and Mutt do and the approach they have with their dog food is good food versus bad food and good food versus good food. And what that basically means is they approach this with condition-appropriate nutrient feeding. So it's thinking about the lifestyle that cat dog leads and ensuring that the food that they eat meets those requirements. So not assuming that all tabby cats need the same diet, all Persian cats need the same diet, all the diet is appropriate for the type of lifestyle the cat leads. So if you happen to have a cat that's based on a farm and is incredibly active, it would need lots of joint care, it would need lots of oil-rich meats and stuff. Whereas an indoor cat, you'd be considering their their bathroom habits, you would be considering the lack of mobility, so therefore you'd be conscious of low protein meat so that they don't put on too much weight. And this is the approach that Pooch and Mutt have with their dog food, and this is the approach I would suggest that they have with their cat food as well. So this is as an example of good food versus good food. The two categories here. So a bodybuilder would need something that's high in protein, low carb, high in keratin, whereas a distance runner would need low protein, high carb. Now both have human digestion systems. Both on paper would need the same amount of calories per day to survive, but they would need a different type of calorie, or they would need different types of supplements to their food because their lifestyles are incredibly different. So a bodybuilder is going to be wanting to build body mass, so protein and keratin, whereas a distance runner is going to need high carbs for energy storage. It's going to need omega-3 for joint care and antioxidants to readdress the chemical balance in their system. So this is the concept of good food versus good food. So you can buy a great diet for your cat, so a Royal Canin or an Iams, and these products are amazing and they meet all of the dietary requirements, but are they appropriate for your cat? So with the wide variety of products that Pooch and Mutt can produce, it means that you can purchase a food for your semi-feral farm cat versus your home inbound house cat. This is the position mapping for Pooch and Mutt, and this is function versus ingredient quality. So there are some great functional or prescription diets out there, and then there are some great ingredient quality produce out there, but there are very, very few that have a good mixture of both. So a Royal Canin would be great for, it's something that's prescribed by the vet, and it meets a very functional need. So your dog has been in for an operation and it needs something that it can easily digest. Royal Canin is great for this. Whereas if you want something that meets all of your projected dietary requirements, and grain-free and wheat-free and vegan, or whatever the dietary requirement might be, then things like grain-free and James Wellbeloved are great. But the great thing about Pooch and Mutt is the combination between the two. So it's high meat content, freshly produced, handmade, but it's also very, very functional, and it meets all of those dietary requirements. Now, how do we do this, and how do you corner this market? Pooch and Mutt do a great job on their social media. They encourage a lot of user-generated content. They actively encourage their customers to engage with them on social media. And they run weekly competitions. They run monthly competitions. They're quite active on their social media. Pooch and Mutt currently run with 7 people. So with a minimal marketing budget, you can get a further reach by cornering the social media market. So I would suggest that Pooch and Mutt approach the same with their cat food. Now, cats are actually better or more received on social media. So there are more hits, there are more searches, there are more views on social media of cats than there are of dogs. So it should be slightly easier for them to do. Now, these are 4 great examples of some well-known, famous cats. So we have Keyboard Cat, and we have Grumpy Cat, and we have Miro, and we have Snoopy. Now, as a collective, these 4 cats have a phenomenal social media reach. So Keyboard Cat, one of his videos has had 53 million views. His YouTube station has 180,000 subscribers, and there's even a 10-hour loop version of this incredibly short clip of a cat pretending to play a keyboard. Snooper the cat has 200,000 followers on Instagram and 275,000 followers on Weibo, which is the Chinese social media. So there's a great coverage there of embedding your product into what is perceived as a closed Chinese market. Now, Grumpy Cat has 2.4 million followers on Instagram with an average of 35,000 likes per impression. It spawned a wide range of products from socks and bowls and treats and gifts and cards. Miro the Cat has collectively, all of the videos that contain Miro the Cat have had 325 million YouTube views. And it has 300,000 Instagram followers. So now if you can just tap into some of this, now whether that's through sponsorship, whether that's through product placement, whether that's through featuring their face as your cat on your product, you would get an instant recognized brand. You would be tapping into these millions and millions of YouTube viewers and Instagram followers that would really, really, really like to, have a cat that played the piano, or had a cat that snuck up on you, and whatever these cats do. And if they can associate that with a healthy diet and the humanization of cats and projecting their own image, then that's a great way forward. So what that does is that social media will increase reach and impressions. And what's really good is if you can get that. So you might, on your own YouTube channel or your own Instagram, have 10, 20,000 followers. And you're only going to have a small reach. But the impressions that you leave and the retweets and the likes and the gifts that spawns creates this endless stream of impressions, and it leaves a lasting legacy for that cat food. So where you're potentially taking on these massive brands owned by Nestle and Mars with their multi-million pound marketing budgets, you can achieve an amazing response and an amazing reach just through cleverly positioning your product on social media. Now, Pooch and Mutt already do an amazing job of this with their dog food, with their music videos. and their, you know, faux behind the scenes of the John Lewis advert. And so they do a really, really good job of this. So doing this with cats would be a great way of creating engagement, building brand awareness, furthering their reach, increasing their impressions, and building that brand and that awareness. Because if you can, you know, capture some of those kittens and some of those early stage cats, people become brand allegiant. Pets become brand allegiant. They buy into that lifestyle, and therefore they would be part of your brand and your journey. And if you can do that, the word of mouth, if Pooch and Muck can sort of follow the same vein that they have with their dog food, where there are points if you shop with them, and they can turn it into bags, coats, hats, paraphernalia, because we're proud pet owners as a nation. And I think if we can continue to encourage the humanization of our animals, and we can capture some of that, it would do a great job of building our brand. So I've taken the liberty of creating a mock packaging for potentially what Pooch and Muck could do. Now, I appreciate it's a bit tongue-in-cheek, and there are a number of synonyms for cats. But I went with Puss and Mog because it kind of sat well with the Pooch and Mutt. It sort of rolled off the tongue just as well. And continuing with their ditch the can approach, so the packaging still being part of their Tetra Pak plan, you know, reducing their carbon footprint, reducing the need for shelf space, increasing the lifespan of the product, meaning that you can better seal the produce, and it's fresh for longer. But the great thing about the Tetra Pak packaging is with a 100-gram package, you can reseal it, put it in the cupboard, put it in the fridge, and continue to feed your cat with that one pouch per day. But the great thing about this is it's 100% recyclable, and it's got a lower carbon footprint. So if Pooch and Mutt or Puss and Mog could do the same, and maybe that cat face that I've very crudely created could be, you know, a stylized version of one of the other amazing cats, Snoopy, Mirror, you know, Angry Cat, Grumpy Cat, any of those kind of cats. The great thing about the shopping basket is it tells the shopper exactly what is inside the packaging. A grain-free, junk-free, fresh family farmed food is definitely the way to go because of our humanization. We don't want to feed our pets anything that we wouldn't want to eat ourselves. And continuing with the projection of being a great British small company, will play into breaking the market, because it surprises many people when they see who owns the cat food that they feed their animals, and it disenfranchises them, because Nestle and Mars don't seem to care about your cat, whereas Pooch and Mutt, Puss and Mog, they will care wholeheartedly about your animals, and they love to see your images and your cat enjoying the produce. So chicken and tuna is a great start. You know, this covers a broad basis, but you would consider lots of other flavours. But keeping with the fresh produce, keeping the meat content the same as what it currently is, and keeping all of the vegetables and the goodness and the richness in there. Keeping them at 100 grams, but selling them maybe in multi-packs. But this is what I would aim for, is a very social media-led cat food campaign. Maybe Puss and Mog, maybe another name. But that's my marketing pitch. I hope you've enjoyed everything that I said, and thank you very much for listening.